Good morning, Diesel here, downtown Aurora, doing my second favorite thing, drinking coffee. I do that every day right after I tune in to Good Morning Aurora.
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8 o'clock a.m., and you are listening to and watching Good Morning, Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. We're here with a great guest today. We got a great discussion and a great show for you guys as well this morning. Our guest today is Assistant Majority Leader Barbara Hernandez. How are you feeling today?
Good to be back.
Good to have you back. Oh, yeah. You've been at every single location we've ever recorded at.
I have. I've taken the tour with you. It's great. It's great to see how much it has grown, and I'm just very proud of you to do all of this. I mean, not a lot of people have done it, and it's just great to share some stories and share other people's work. So it's great. So
thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Speaking of sharing the work and the stories, we're going to continue the discussions that we've had in the past about the work that your office does, the work that you do, and the work that the community benefits from. So we got a lot of things to unpack today, and I'm excited. And we're also, as I mentioned, we're going to show people the news. You guys are going to see some of the new flow and the new feel. And we've got at the 8:30 mark, we'll take our break. We've got some great content for you guys to check out as well. Okay, so before we get started, good morning, Daniel Calderon, Saul Olivas. Good morning, Saul, and Jennifer Ryan Maiden, all of you guys for watching. Thank you very much. So I think we'll start out with the 50th district, and there's been some changes. It's expanded.
Yes,
is that correct?
We have. As everybody remembers, the census happened, and because of that, every 10 years we need to change the maps in the General Assembly. And actually in a little bit of everything. All forms of government, if there's a district form, they have to change. Okay. So the county has changed, the City of Aurora ward maps have changed, Congress has changed, and of course Senate districts, House districts have changed. So my area, I used to be 83rd. Now I'm 50th.
Right.
And then now I expand to DuPage County, Aurora.
Okay.
And I also go to Batavia, and I lost a little bit of West Aurora as well in certain areas. Okay. So that's something I had to give and take in a way.
Right. What was the experience like, knocking on those doors in those new places and meeting those folks who to them you're new? What was that like?
It was an adjustment.
Okay.
When you start knocking on doors, a lot of people are very territorial about their representative and senator. And you would knock on the door, and they're like, "No, my representative is Maura, my representative is Stephanie, and my representative is Keith Wheeler at that time." And you had to kind of educate them and say, "Hey, yes, they still are right now, but starting this upcoming year, it's going to be me."
Right.
So I just want to meet everybody. But a lot of people were like, "No, what are you doing? You're running against someone?" It's like, no, they are switching. Unfortunately, we're switching people around, and that's what it turns out. And I'm going to be your new representative. So after a while, people accepted and understood a little bit more. Okay. But there's still some people that don't know.
Yeah. Educating folks is kind of an ongoing thing when it comes to local government, local politics. It's like just when you thought that they realized everything, there's always something else or those changes too. They may not be, they may not know when the change happened or why it's happening, right? Kind of thing. And then also the office is moving.
We are.
Is that you guys are moving soon?
We are. We're moving to downtown Aurora.
Okay.
To the old library.
All right. So
I'm very excited. The space right now that we have is great. It was very affordable, and that's what I'm going to miss. And it's really, it was in the west side of Aurora, but I know the building is being sold, and it's just probably easier to kind of be more visible in a new area. So we're going to try it out. Hopefully we'll participate in First Fridays as well. because of that. So we will be in the first floor of the old library.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good place. Right in downtown Aurora.
Yes.
Right in the middle of everything.
Yeah. I always wanted to do it, but it was just, it's affordability. Like in our state budgets or office budgets, we are given a set amount every year. And it doesn't roll over. So if I don't spend certain amount, I just lose it.
Okay.
But because of that set amount, it's not as many people might think like, oh, that's a lot of money. But in reality, like I have to use that same amount for my employees, for salaries, for office supplies, for rent, for a little bit of everything. It's just like, and it's like the majority is salaries that I have to pay. So it doesn't really give me a lot to work with.
Right.
But so I had to kind of figure out like what are some things that I can spend on and so on for our office. But luckily I was able to make it work, and we're going to be there hopefully at the end of this month.
Okay. Big change.
Yes.
Will there be like a ribbon cutting or an open house or anything like that?
There will be once we're able to be settled a little bit more.
Okay.
Because right now it's a mess.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we there's people who know that we recorded in the bottom of one East Benton there for a little bit too. Yes, we did. That was so shout out to Ron and Melinda. Really nice people.
Yes, they are.
Great folks. So the time is 8:06 a.m. The next thing I want to talk about, we are in Hispanic Heritage Month. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get a sense from you of kind of the community temperature. How do you feel the Hispanic community is during this month in all aspects? You know, how's the overall health of the community? Just in your, your own assessment. How are we in employment and opportunity, participation in local government and politics?
I think there's a lot of people participating in many things. We could always use more.
Sure.
I think there's always representation needs to happen in all careers and everywhere. And it's something that I think some of us struggle a little bit, because we the Latino community comes from families that are very big sometimes, mm-hmm. and they have multiple jobs, because we have to some of us are not super financially stable, mm-hmm. Because of different things, right? Either we can't have the job that we used to do back in home, meaning Mexico or other countries, and when they come here, they kind of have to surrender all of that, like education that they probably had back home,
right?
And now have to work somewhere that is not in their field,
right? Unless
you do all your testing and everything that you need to do to kind of catch up and be able to have a valid degree, mm-hmm. here. But it's hard and it costs a lot of money. So a lot of people just go straight to, let me just work 2 or 3 jobs.
Right.
And by doing that, many people are tired. Many
mm-hmm.
people are tired. Many people don't want to get involved because of that.
Right.
And I understand that. However, it's hard when we have to do certain decisions, because if I want people to vote on certain bills or support in certain bills for my that I'm doing that are relating to them, it is hard when not a lot of people get involved.
Right.
Because then I'm here saying this is what what the community needs, but then if I have a big amount of people saying no, I don't think they need that, and they're not Latino.
Right.
It's hard for me to be like, no, I'm in the community, Latino families need this, and it's hard to convince them. For example, licenses for undocumented population. I was able to do that this year, and just remove the purple line that pretty much singles people out, saying you're undocumented.
Right.
I was able to remove that, but it was also very hard to sometimes convince certain colleagues of why that's important for the community. And luckily for that, there was a lot of Latino organizations that came up, like mm-hmm. ICER, and that proposed that idea, and were able to provide some help and bring people over from different areas in Chicago and Aurora, bus mm-hmm. them to Springfield and say, hey, you need to rally for this. You need to advocate for this if you want this. And they kind of taught them. But not everybody does that.
Right. I saw that. It was a little movement. It was a movement. Yeah. The advocacy outweighed the the opposition or
Right.
the opposition to it. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And for those people who took that trip there, that was big for them.
It was. They got to see the madness. Everybody thinks it's really nice and neat in Springfield, and it can be, but it's the madness. Everybody's running around trying to catch someone, so it's a lot.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see that that there is more participation and things are on an upward trend. We could always be doing better, as you say, but
yeah.
I'm glad to see that participation is steadily increasing, seems like. So that's really good. Now, what did it feel like to be when you became assistant majority leader? Because the last time I spoke to you, you were not.
Yes.
You were not.
Yes.
How did that feel?
Very surreal.
Okay.
Very surreal. I think a lot of people don't understand what exactly that means to be assistant majority leader. And I even for myself, I was trying to figure everything out.
Googling it, like, hold on now.
Yeah. And it's something, let's just say, I was able to get voted in by the Latino Caucus,
Right.
the House Latino Caucus. So my group of, my caucus, my community, were able to vote me in as their representative to represent them and the Speaker of the House in bills and negotiations and things like that. So I guess the easiest way to describe it is like I'm with the Speaker's cabinet and
Right.
our team. So if he ever needs something like and says, hey, we have an emergency bill, then unfortunately someone has to do it now.
Right.
And he can tell me, say, hey, you're doing it. Yeah, figure it out.
All right.
And so on. And it's just great. But I'm also something I was so nervous about is to lead session.
Really?
I was so nervous.
That seems different. Oh, and,
Yeah.
everybody's got their nervousness.
Right. So I was so nervous to lead session, and one day I was texted. I was like, "Hey, do you want to do it tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, I knew that this came with the job." So,
Right. What was the nervousness?
Just overall, like that is a lot more formal.
Okay.
It's a lot more formal. It's not like I have to say certain things legally. Because if I don't say it, then it's not put on record. It's
Sure.
not, the legislation might not pass and so on for someone else. Like, it's pretty much just directing people where to go, right? When to speak, when to not. But they could always call a question on something. And then, like they did, the Republicans threw me a curveball one day. And they were like, they said a statement that pretty much meant, like, end session now. Like, you have to end session. Because we're not moving, and we can't stop that. We can't say, no, you guys, like, hold on. We can't say that. It's like, legally, we're obligated to follow it.
Right.
And we were kind of like trying to figure out, like, what do you mean we have to finish session? We still have a lot of work to be done.
Right.
And luckily it got resolved. The guy withdrew his question and to try and end session, and the Republican leader apologized and said, hey, like, we're gonna do it. We said we were gonna work with you guys, so we're gonna do this.
Okay.
So, and they were like, I'm sorry, this is not gonna happen again. And I was like, great.
Wow.
Because I didn't know what to do in that moment. I was like, what do you mean it's like you're going to school and all of a sudden you just say, you know what, I don't want to go to school at 10 o'clock. Let's get out. Let's get released.
Like, wow.
Yeah, and
that's
it's like,
the end
no,
of
you
it?
still have till 3
Right.
to work. And yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's a lot. It's a lot. But I do enjoy it because I'm able to help a lot of more people. I'm able to help the Latino Caucus in many things as well. I'm pretty much just trying to be the leader that they elected me to do inside of the work that I already do for other people.
Congratulations for you.
you.
Congratulations to you. I know that you, I watch all the media that you put out from session and things like that. So, through the goodness of Facebook and Instagram, I see what goes on.
Yes.
So I know you work hard. I know you work hard. I know it's a lot of pressure to do that job.
It
So
is.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. The time is 8:14 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Assistant Majority Leader Barbara Hernandez, talking things out, getting to know her. As you know, she has been on the show many times, but this is her very first experience here in our new home, the Aurora Media Center here in downtown Aurora. So the next question I have for you, we Also here in Aurora, there's a couple things that are taking place. And I did want to talk about the expanded use of drones. Now, that is a interesting topic.
It is. It is.
It's an interesting topic. Now, because of the tragedy at Highland Park, that showed that there are a lot of deficiencies. Not all security can be perfect, and we need to, or there is definitely the need to monitor threats before they occur. So I understand the expanded use, and I can see the benefit in it. However, there is the potential, and folks have concerns about unwarranted surveillance or additional surveillance or surveillance outside of what is stated by law enforcement agencies. So the first question I have is its use, is that only for Aurora, like the specifications in it? Is it only for Aurora, or is it a state of Illinois applicable?
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's one of the bills that it was a very last minute addition to my list.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the person that was supposed to do it had to leave session, and I was next in line. Like I said, when you're assistant majority leader, you just get random things sometimes, and you just have to go with it sometimes. So this is one of the bills that I know it was the City of Aurora's initiative, so that's why I was picked to do this because it related to the City of Aurora. It came from here, and then with intentions of helping throughout the state.
Right.
So the bill itself it's across the state, and I made sure, because I know ACLU was against it because of privacy concerns and so on as well. And I think a lot of people I know I've had mixed feelings from individuals of like, they're gonna violate my privacy, and then other people was like, this is great, we need it, hopefully that can prevent something from happening. The bill itself can only be used by the City of Aurora.
Okay.
Government entities, I guess you can say. Government entities across the state, they can only use it if they're hosting a government entity event. If that makes sense. So if you want to have a block party, we can't just bring drones to your house and say, hey, we're doing a block party thing. If you're saying the City of Aurora and I are hosting this, then yes, the City of Aurora can bring the drones.
Gotcha.
And do the whole thing. And they have to publish 24 hours in advance in that area, on that block, with signs saying, hey, tomorrow there's going to be a parade. Tomorrow is going to be a block party that will be surveilled by the drones. Okay. Yeah.
So for the person having for the backyard quince, right? There's no
unless the City of Aurora somehow is involved.
Right. But for those events where perhaps an outside dignitary or figure is coming, or taking part in our parade or something like that, we should expect there to be the potential for the drone to be up. That's just right. Right. And again, I see I see it both ways, but I do believe. See, I always try to err on the side of caution.
Right.
And I don't think that you can do enough to be safe before something happens, right? You need to stop problems before they become emergencies. So I see the use for it, but I also do. It was interesting. The ACLU voted neutral, which is, they don't do that much. No. That was wow. I was like, wow, what a stance.
I mean, it was a lot of things, and Leader Linda Holmes, Senator Holmes, actually took a lot of that negotiation part for a lot of different times with when I got the bill, it was done. It looked pretty. It looked nice. Right. She did all the drafts and so on, and I just had to pretty much run with it. But there's a lot more in the bill, of course. Like if there is some violation that happens, you do see it randomly in a quinceañera party. You're able to report that to Attorney General, and make sure that those are people are known and that someone's violating that law.
Right. All right. Time is 8:19 a.m. Visual Arts is here. Good morning. Josie Mendoza Geller, good morning to you as well. She says there is still a stigma / fear for the undocumented, the comfort of living under the radar. They have a voice, but not a public one. That was in response to we were talking about the driver's licenses. Maria Chirito, good morning. Aisha Saxon, good morning as well. Joe Jackson and Juan Cifuentes, good morning to you, sir. So now we're gonna we'll do that after the show. This is another piece of good news that I want to talk about. So I am well aware that your office cares very much about ending gun violence. And I wanted to talk about the firearm enforcement grants for APD. And this is something I don't think a lot of people know about, so I'm just going to read briefly from this, and then we will talk more about it. So, the Aurora Police Department. Now, this is from July, so as this has happened, will receive another grant from the ISP, Illinois State Police, to help enforce Firearm Owners Identification Card Act policies and keep Aurora streets safe. The ISP issued $37,501 to APD to conduct enforcement operations for people who have had FOID cards revoked or suspended but have failed to comply with those revocations or suspensions. Enforcement details will focus on people who are the subject of a firearm restraining order. A lot of people don't even know about that.
No, not a lot of people. No, I mean, overall, we have a lot of grants for different things in the state. And we have nonprofit, we have like municipal. So for first responders, we currently have a grant for firemen, firefighters, fire departments to be able to get some new equipment. Okay. Because equipment is very expensive. Right. It can be. But one of the things that when we were doing all these gun bills this last year and a few years ago as well, a lot of questions came up to how can we protect police officers from collecting other people's guns? When, and I know that statement might create some chaos right now, when someone that is mentally ill or is a domestic abuser, like people that shouldn't have guns because of those criteria, like how can we make sure we get those guns back until they're cleared or whatever it may be, or sometimes maybe never because of that issue, like if people are scared of that they are going to harm someone else. So that's pretty much what this is about, like trying to give police officers, the departments, a way to collect those guns away from people that shouldn't have them due to those criteria. Because
I know the boyfriend loophole is one thing that's really serious too. You brought up the domestic violence, and there are people out there with notorious records of domestic violence, which persist, but have demonstrated, demonstrated violence, and having a firearm is not really going to help mitigate that. So I wanted to ask about that and brought it up because the first person that I heard it from was the state's attorney. So it's something that is protective, it's helpful, but not enough people know about it, and I think they should. Firearm restraining orders.
And people can make a claim as well. Do a report at the police department. If you feel that your significant other or a family member might do something that they shouldn't be, or they hopefully don't, if you are concerned for their safety, or other people's safety, you can make a claim and investigation can happen and so on. But yes, a lot of police officers were nervous and scared to collect these guns. They're like, how we don't have the proper equipment, we don't have the proper process to go to someone's house and kind of say, hey, can I get your gun back? And to especially, like we said, someone that is potentially dangerous to other people.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole they're coming for our guns thing, and it's like no. You
No,
need to
but-
be you need to,
Right.
your FOIA card's not valid. So
Right. Yeah.
it's just that simple in that kind of case.
And I know in the federal government currently, I think they're starting to view this. I think the Supreme Court has a case that will determine if if it's legal to even take away someone's gun,
Right.
even after you've proved that this person is a domestic violence abuser.
Right. There's always that's interesting about the law, right? When it works good, it works really good. Right. Make sure.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that?
But then we see the other side of government.
Exactly,
And it's a little bit
exactly.
harder to do. But I'm just glad that I don't think, I've traveled to different states in the last couple of months. And I recently came back from Florida. And as we've seen with the news and we've seen everything in Florida happening, it's a little bit concerning. I took my passport just in case I got stopped or something. Honestly, I was looking forward to getting stopped just so I can prove a point
Right.
to DeSantis, because I know there's a lot of people that unfortunately are hiding, are moving out of Florida, are hiding from a lot of things, and potentially moving to Illinois.
Right.
I know in Illinois I'm very grateful to live in the state. I know we do pay a lot of taxes, we do pay a lot of things, but however, compared to the rest of the country, I think we're really better off at the moment.
We are.
Politically, I feel as a woman, I feel that my rights are still valid. I can do whatever I want with my body in Illinois, and I won't be chased or sued
Right.
in any way. As a Latina, I feel comfortable going around and walk around the community, and that's what we would all hope for. In Florida and other states that are not very, very welcoming to many communities, I think it's a little bit harder. You kind of have to think about it and remember that who you are, and what might other people think of you by just the way you look. And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
Does it bother you when you see other people who advocate for that stuff, and they may be members of our own communities? What is that?
Yeah, it's disappointing. I think we've seen a lot of things across the country happening, and it's just very disappointing to see sometimes that, like, there's a lot of immigrants. They were undocumented. They are DACA, and they are still against immigration or undocumented and so on. And I'm just like, how does that make sense? Like, I just don't understand that.
Yeah, disappointing is the right word.
Yeah,
it really is. Disappointing is the right word, and I feel like that's where the lack of even basic political education and savvy is really just gone amok, because it's one thing to not understand the policy or understand how immigration works or does not work, but it's another thing to not know that and act like you do. Like,
right.
it's like that one saying, like, a wise man knows when not to speak. A fool just opens his mouth and leaves no doubt. It's like, I've always found that disturbing, and it's not helping grow. It's not helping our communities like grow and break out of any other shackles, or barriers.
Right. Yeah.
Because when you got somebody who's advocating for it, it's always like, well, he's okay with it, and that's not good.
Right. I think people pick and choose what they nowadays, like, what they want to either believe and so on. And sometimes you just have to remember where you come from. Like, imagine, like, I'm a daughter of immigrants. My parents were undocumented for many years. Imagine if I was just against that. It's like, no, parents come back when you're legal.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why? And it's just like, I've seen the hardship of not only my family, but other families around me that went through that. So I I can never see myself thinking that way. And to hear other people say certain things, it's just upsetting. Like, I got a lot of emails through my bills because I was supporting, especially this year, a lot of undocumented population bills that I did for DACA. And I got a lot of emails saying, well, like, she's a traitor. She's not even from this country. And they would call me names and just say a bunch of stuff. And that's hurtful, but it's also, it reminded me of like, okay, whatever I do, you're never going to see me as part of this country, because I'm the first thing you're going to see is just that I'm Mexican.
Right.
And it's one of the things that a lot of Latino communities kind of have to navigate through and are still going through, even with our personal like lives. Like my family back in Mexico, they're like, oh, you're not Mexican, you're an American.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't think that. And then when I come here, it's clear you're not American, you're Mexican.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, where am I from?
Yeah.
Who wants to adopt me in this community and so on? But it's something that we all struggle with.
Yeah, that's the that's the power of doing what you do, because from what I've seen, you've never let that stop you. You kind of seem like the opposite kind of person. Like when they give you the hate, you just stick it on the wall. Like, okay, take a number. Yeah, I'm gonna just use that to to do more good.
When DeSantis called me out recently.
Oh, we're gonna get there. Hold on. We can't scratch it up yet. We're gonna.
I'm moving too fast, I guess.
Yeah, this page 2 right here. Yeah, we're good.
We'll talk about that. But yes, we'll leave it with a cliffhanger. DeSantis called me out.
Yeah, I do recall that. So the time is 8:31 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a small break. We're going to show you an interesting piece of content here. Good Morning Aurora, as you know, has been here in the city of Aurora, proudly serving and delivering news for 3 years now. And in that 3 years' time, we've met some interesting people and heard and seen some amazing stories. We're going to give you a small piece today of an interview that we conducted with a friend named Jen Ingram. And this was our very first time getting to know Jen Ingram. So check it out.
What were the ages of the kids?
What's funny is I tried to set it from like 8 years to like 15 years, like third grade through 10th grade. I really wanted to reach teens and, preteens and teens. So I tried to keep it, older. But then people actually showed up yesterday and they had enrolled and didn't see that it was for older. And so she had, a really nice mom and to these really two cute little girls. And I was like, well, you're here now, just stay. And, and that was the thing, like, the younger children don't have as long as attention span and, the goals and things, but they still had a good time and they got to take stuff home. And, but the teenagers and the preteens that were there, they stayed and they did the whole, they seemed to enjoy it. And that was the focus, is like give them a slot of time to work on art, with your parents not around kind of thing. And, or just, somebody paying attention to you, somebody trying to ask about how you're feeling, or can your feelings be interpreted into the art that you're creating. So. Yeah.
It's a challenging time for kids and parents with everything going on, and school, some's virtual, some are not, and just kind of having that creative outlet is a great thing.
Exactly. And the ones that were there, they all said like they wanted something more, continuing, like on a regular basis type of thing, because they, and they're identifying themselves that, yes, I need this and I would love to come back and do more, so quite a few people, asked, are you going to keep doing this? So while I didn't reach a huge crowd of, 20 or 60 at once, I reached 6 or 8 at once. And those people were, dedicated. Like they really like it. So, and I think they enjoyed their time. And that was the whole thing, was trying to get them a safe place to talk about these confusing times. It's confusing for adults.
Right.
And you know, kids, they always just have to go along with the ride. They don't get to make the decisions. They're just here and they have to do, you know, they have to do what we tell them to do, basically, where they don't get a choice, really. So, and it's probably really weird for a lot of them, you know, wearing masks and now not going to school. That's
so much
weird.
has been taken away from them. So
Yes.
it's nice to see, you know, people giving back.
All right, and we're back. The time is 8:35 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. We're proud to be here again with Assistant Majority Leader Barbara Hernandez. So let's continue our discussion. So now, when it was the when it was the police drone bill, that was great, champion, and then you went ahead and decided to offer police law enforcement jobs to DACA recipients, and then it all caved in. Let's talk about that, and let's talk specifically about what everyone got wrong about the bill, because I actually read the thing. So let's talk about that. And how did it feel to be called out by that dude?
Right, and the one that shouldn't be named.
Right, exactly.
So this idea of the bill, like many bills, like come from either different states, different organizations. Sometimes I go on tours and I get to kind of see something, and it's like, oh, maybe we can probably fix that with a law, and so on. So in this case, it was pretty much, I saw that California and other states did a bill that would help DACA and individuals to pretty much apply to be a police officer.
Right.
As we've seen, there's a shortage across the country in many jobs.
Yeah.
Police officers is one of them, and I know a lot of people have stated like we need more diversity in our police officers, and so on. So I thought maybe we could do this bill, allow illegal permanent residents and DACA individuals to apply for to become officers. Right. Just allowing them to apply. Of course, they still have to go through all requirements, all training, everything on their own. There's no exceptions. They still have to do that.
You could fail and not even make it.
Right. All I'm allowing them is to apply. Because many, if you see all the job applications, many of them say citizen only, like U.S. citizens. You have to be a U.S. citizen. But the DACA students are able to apply to many jobs because they do have a federal approved employment permit. Right. So they can. But there's some jobs that they're excluded from because of law. Right. So because of that, that's something I was like, okay, I can do that. I can change that. And I got support early on from the Republican side, surprisingly. I thought they were going to say no, but I worked with them. I tried to talk to them about it, and many of them were like, yes. And many of them are police officers in their own communities. Right. So as soon as I was able to get the majority of the Republican support, the bill passed with flying colors. It was just like, great. Like, I think, so we're 118 of us, and many of them weren't there due to illness and so on. 118 representatives. Okay. So I think only 2 or 3 of them voted no out of those 118. So it's great to see that it got majority of support. Right. However, yes, the governor signed the bill. I'm very excited and very happy about it. It will be enacted in January 1st of 2024. Okay. But then because of that, Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, made a comment on his, I guess now it's called X, formerly known as Twitter. Right. And pretty much said, I can't believe that Illinois is allowing illegal immigrants to become officers.
Yeah, like that's exactly what it said.
Yeah.
Yep.
And not only him, it was also Congresswoman Laura Boebert from Colorado, and Mary Miller from Illinois, whose husband, Chris Miller, is a representative and voted for the first draft of the bill.
Right.
So
Don't you just love it?
yeah, they don't fact check. They don't really see what's going on. But across the nation, it was published as my bill is allowing illegal immigrants to, and those are the quotes. I hate using illegal immigrants as a term, but that's what they use,
Right.
to tell people, and it was just very frustrating to see that, and that's where I got a lot of national news attention, and people wanted to get the facts straight because they heard that it wasn't true,
Right.
and yeah, it wasn't true. I'm not. There's how I see it is there's several categories. There's the undocumented population, right? They don't have any form of documentation. They're currently in that limbo of like, can they be in this country? Can they not?
Right.
In a way, is there any path that they can take?
Right.
And that's where my parents were. And then there's another category of DACA recipients, right? Who are technically undocumented, but have been federally approved to work. They're vetted. They had to go through many background checks. They
Right.
have to renew every 2 years and so on. And that's currently also in limbo in the Supreme Court. But there's that category. And
Right.
of course, you got your legal permanent residents and your citizens. But a lot of people were focusing on just the undocumented population.
Right.
They're like, that's it. She's allowing undocumented population to arrest citizens in this country.
Right.
And it was just ridiculous to see all of that.
Two things about that I thought were, and I'm so glad to be talking about this because there's two key things about that really just, I thought were very ignorant was the language, right? And so the initial tweet, I believe, was illegal immigrants. But, as you keep going and it keeps going, then it was just illegals. They're going to make illegals cops,
Yeah.
right? So they shortened down as ugly as it already was to make it even uglier. And, there's many articles that still exist of the same thing happening when African Americans were allowed to be police officers way back. I mean, the headlines were the same. Negroes are going to be arresting white folks. It's you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The brain cells haven't grown in all of those generations.
Right.
So that was one thing wrong. And the other thing is this. The most common, the criticism that people have about the illegals is that they're here, they're freeloading, they're not assimilating, right?
Yeah.
They're not respecting our laws. They're just here for a free ride. But why wouldn't you want somebody to, what's more assimilating? Joining the police force, right?
Right. And many
mean,
people want to.
Yeah.
And that's the choice. I want to give them that choice.
Right.
And I'm doing a similar bill for firefighters. Currently, they the legal permanent residents and DACA individuals can't apply. Maybe in some communities they can.
Right.
Some communities are switching already because they're seeing that might help with their population of getting more people in the force. But not everybody's doing it.
Right. Right.
And I know I'm being called out from all angles, and they think it's a Democratic thing and it's just me who's doing this. But then they don't realize that a lot of the Republicans voted for this.
Of course,
and
yeah.
By DeSantis making those comments, it didn't really help his party at all.
No.
Especially in Illinois. Like, I don't think he did his research to see that many of the Republicans voted for this bill.
Right.
And by him making those statements is pretty much hurting them
Absolutely.
in a long run. So, DeSantis is not doing them any favor, but he did me a favor by being able to talk more about the bill,
right,
and educate people on the different branches of immigration, because it's a big topic that a lot of people are not aware of.
And you went on and you put on the boxing gloves. You went on Fox News and
Yes,
duked
I
it
did.
out.
I did.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
I was proud to see that. I was proud that you
you.
represent us. I was like, that was really good. What was that like?
It was
Because that was your first time defending the bill, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in different ways. I'm used to interviews such as like this. Let's talk, let's chat. And let me tell you about what I did, what the bills did. But in Fox News and News Nation, I felt like I had to fight for the first time. Like it was one of those typical news that they kept interrupting. Like, but why? But why? And I was just like, overwhelmed. But it was, I kept to my story because I think they were trying to look for different angles to just get me to say something. And it's like, no, like I'm telling you the story. You got me here to talk about this bill, and this is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, that's what they call in TV. That's what they call the banana peel, right? I'm gonna say a little something, hoping that you slip on it.
Right.
I don't care how many illegals give it.
Yeah.
And then that's viral.
That's
Exactly.
a new part of the news. Like Representative Hernandez said X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Yeah.
Time is 8:45 a.m. Good morning. Michael Rayford is here. Good morning to you, Michael Rayford. He says good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Nick, good morning. Hi, Curtis and Barbara. Hello, Nick. Paris Bistro is here. Fantastic restaurant located Showplace Drive in Naperville, 95th. You go down there, you take a right. Fantastic place. Try the shrimp wrapped in prosciutto.
Oh.
Just do that. Just do that. So many great people. Gloria Gerardo, good morning to you as well. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is the upholding of the assault weapons ban. So the Supreme Court upheld that. How did it feel when you got the news that challenge or that they upheld in the face of the challenge?
I mean, it was good news. I think there's many bills that get challenged very last minute and brought into the Illinois Supreme Court, like the gun ban, also the Safety Act. Right. And the Safety Act just 2 days ago, it was able to start after months of just waiting to see what's going to happen with the future of the Safety Act. But overall, when those bills come through and they get upheld by the Supreme Court, it's just great to hear. It's great to see that we won.
Right.
We won because we put a lot of work in this. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset about the gun ban and certain things and so on. And there's still some parts of it that will be under the Supreme Court still to investigate and do some more research. But the main part, I mean, that's something that we needed to do. With everything that we see going on in our community, it's just how can we find ways to protect the community and our children mainly, because we've seen this a lot more in schools.
Right.
Thankfully not here in Illinois, not as much, but we have our own cases of story. Like we've had NIU in the past, Aurora, Highland Park, and there's a lot of threats. I heard there was a lot of bomb threats as well at the library this last week. So there's a lot of things that we need to take into consideration. And if you're not doing anything wrong, then you should not worry about it. Don't worry about it. You're still gonna have your gun. You're still going to be able to do whatever you need to do. If you're not doing something wrong, and you know you're not doing something wrong, then yes, be worried, because there's going to be laws to be able to protect other people.
Right. And plus, history has gone such a while now. People may not remember that there was an assault weapons ban for 20 years. I think Bill Clinton, when he was president, signed that into law. So it was in 1994. So like this is not something that was just created in the middle of the night to just find a way to.
No, and people think we did.
Yeah.
Because I remember if we passed that pretty late at night, and people like to make conspiracy theories about it, like they were working till 3 a.m. and because
they know the whole population's asleep, so then they did. But it's like that's how much work we have.
Like, trust me, I do not want to stay up till 3 in the morning.
It's like we got so much work, we have to work all night.
Right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. And like and I try my best to tell people whenever I meet them and so on, and they asked like, hey, we've been working on this since like June of last year.
Right.
Like, and maybe it's not open to the public because we're doing all this background work and so on.
Right.
But it got to this point that now today's the day we will
Right.
vote on the bill. And yes, unfortunately, it's 3 a.m.
Right.
But people think it's like, oh, they did this 24 hours in advance. And
It's like the
no.
Safety Act took 10 years.
Right.
It took
Yeah.
10 years
Yeah.
to make it in the form that it's in now.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I like. That's what I have always liked about politics. You know, people who know me, I'm not a sports guy. Politics is my sports. Like, that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
I like knowing what the real, true deal fact is. You know, that's why Ilja, learning that from your office, like witness slips and seeing all that, like, it's interesting because as much speculation and conspiracy theory and they're doing this, in reality, when you pull the lid back, there's actually nothing that's more black and white, blatant, and legally by the law than politics. It's like there really is there's leeway in some things, but when we're talking about like the actual language in the bill, it says that. It doesn't say like the police bill, for example, things like that. And that's what I like about it. You can learn so much.
Yeah.
You really can. You can educate yourself. Okay. The time is 8:50. So with the last bit of time that we have, what are you excited about? What are you excited about? How's this year? I mean, you know, it's going to be 2024 really soon, but how are you feeling individually? What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to?
I'm just excited for everything.
Okay.
You know, I think at this point, with everything that happened with me personally last year, I've always appreciated life, but I feel like I appreciate life a lot more.
Right.
I try to enjoy the time that I have with my family. They're getting older. A lot of people are getting older, and we're losing some people here and there, right? I lost my grandmother in December, and that was a big part of my life. So adjusting to the new reality has been a little bit difficult. She was our matriarch in our family, but at the same time, just trying to build new family.
Right.
Trying to, I've met so many people that maybe a few years ago they were not in my friend group, but now they are. And it's just great to be able to balance a little bit of my life here and there, because I think in the past I was always working nonstop, and trust me, I still am in a way, but I'm doing a better job at saying, you know what, sorry, I can't go to X, Y, and Z. Like, I do need some time off.
The work-life balance.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a struggle, because I do get guilt trips sometimes by people. It's like, oh, like, I haven't seen you in a while. And like, where have you been? And it's like, well, I'm in Springfield.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in Springfield for like the first half of the year. But trust me, like, I want to come back to the community. And when I go to First Fridays, like, I try to go First Fridays as myself, not there for any work or anything. But I always love giving a shout out to small businesses that I'm trying or seeing. I'm a big foodie, so I love taking pictures of my food.
Oh yeah, you shout out the food a lot. Atrévite.
Atrévite,
Yeah. I started liking them because of you. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, they're great, and they're expanding. They're expanding, and they're gonna come to Aurora. I don't know if you knew that.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, big
So,
stuff.
I know.
Big stuff. So now that the 27th, which is next week, there's the legislative update.
28th, I think.
Is 28th?
Yeah,
okay.
it's the
All right.
28th.
What can any little previews, or should we register and come on out there? Y'all do
You
that.
should,
Scan the QR code.
yes.
Scan the QR code. Register and go
Yes.
out there. We have shared that flyer. I guess we'll make a post for it today or in the next couple of days or something like that. Yeah.
So every year, we haven't done it in the last few years because of COVID.
Okay.
But every year before that, the Latino Caucus the General Legislative Latino Caucus will do like a series of public policy event, forum type of thing throughout the whole day. And it's free for everyone. It's recommended for schools to kind of use this opportunity to take the students on a field trip.
Right.
And it's, like I said, it's free for everybody. It's going to be in Malcolm X College in Chicago. We have like 500 people that can attend. And usually throughout the day, it's a way to kind of get to know the legislators, the Latino Caucus legislators. So if you're very interested in learning more about politics and especially representation, minority, immigration, how does education impact the undocumented population,
Right.
whatever it may be, we probably have those topics. And we will be there like the whole day just talking and being a panelist on certain things that are very interesting to our communities. So I think it would be a great opportunity for everybody to join. Hopefully they will. Like I said, it's free. I don't think that's the best thing
Right,
ever.
yeah.
We're not asking for any donations, any money. It's just get the knowledge, get to meet people, network, and get to know us as well. We're not always under the same roof. So I would say take this opportunity because you're going to have like 17, 18 Latino legislators from Illinois in the room just talking about different personal experiences or their other work that they've done and like I said, representation. So I'm very excited for that. I'm excited to be part of it because I used to attend those as a student.
Oh, wow. And now look.
Yeah, and now I'm part of the panel. I'm one of the panelists, so it's great to see how, the circle of life happens.
Nice.
In many ways.
So I'll be there with our team member, David, and then Maria will be there. She registered for one of the workshops as well, so she'll be there. So on that day, there won't be a Buenos Dias Aurora. That day we will be at a field trip at Malcolm X College taking part, or I'll be sitting back learning because I've gotten questions when we had a great resource event yesterday at Wabanzi Community College. But people, we work in housing, but people have other questions about that. So they ask like, hey, I got a cousin who needs some help in whatever way, educational, financial. So any knowledge, that we can get for folks and bring it back to them, we're happy to do that. Time is 8:56 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, we got about a couple more minutes to go here. I hope that you guys are liking the new feel and the flow of the show, though, as well. You can let us know how you guys feel about it in the chat. We always strive to show you guys something new. We're really happy to be here and showing you guys new things and new stuff. We have much more content of an Aurora nature to show you guys, so let us know what you guys think. This has been a fantastic discussion with Assistant Majority Leader Hernandez here, and before we go, we've also got that one last famous question that we always ask all of our great guests, today being no different. So as you know, the show ends on a positive note. What is your message today for the people of Aurora?
I know it's cloudy outside for the most part. It's rainy. It's very easy to be sad. Recently, the community lost someone that is very, he was like the light for our community. And that's hard, but not very, I'm sorry, I've known him since I was 15, so I get a little bit emotional. But we need to live every single day of our lives to the best of our ability. Say thank you, love everybody, and just forgive. Forgive for anything that happened in your past and your present. Just forgive them. I think it's very important. Anyone can leave this world at any time, and I think people forget that. It's easy to hold grudges. It's easy to be mad at someone. But I think with everything going on in our world, we need to stay together, and we need to remember those that we have lost throughout the way for many reasons, and just keep them in mind and try to live for them as well.
Yeah, that's very powerful words. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you guys have an awesome day, a marvelous rest of the week. Good Morning Aurora will return on Friday morning with more news, more weather, and the very best of Aurora. We hope that you guys enjoyed today's show, and we've got a whole lot more to show you guys and talk about. So please stay tuned. Have a great rest of the day. Take care of yourself and each other.
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee, and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.